Often nowadays we are hearing people talking about learning disability, difficulties of learning. Our greatest challenges in learning is more expressed by youth and also by the elders. The fact of the matter is you can't not learn. Ever since we have been born, all that has happened to us until we grew into this age of today, what I am, my biological age, I could live up to this level as a product of my history. My history is nothing but learning. So learning is our nature. Learnability is embedded in us. When people say learning disability, I understand it simply knowing and not understanding what to do with that knowing. Knowing is knowledge. How to deal with that knowledge for my benefit and my environmental benefit, that is primarily the learning. That's why it becomes a challenge. See, we all know where is brain. It's a biological organ. Everyone has. Whereas when we commit some mistakes, people ask, are you having brain? Like that we are scolding them. But certainly biological brain is there as long as we exist. But the mind where it is, that is the search even now is going on. Conceptually as it has been understood, mind is not residing only in brain, though the brain plays an important role to generate the vibrations and the energy of a holistic response to the environment and also to the internal environment is mind. That's why they say mind is a metaphor of brain. And conceptually they have separated it into conscious mind and unconscious mind. And unconscious mind, they say, is universal. And it is connected to collective consciousness and collective unconsciousness of the whole universe. I can sit and talk here in Mangalore, but my mind can go to my wife and what's happening there. My mind has gone there and thinking about my wife. At the same time, my daughter who is on the way from the United States on board the flight, without connectivity, I know that she has crossed Paris because she has sent the message. That knowledge I am having. But what is happening there when I think about it, my mind works with my energy, feeling, and all of them put together only mind works. Unconscious mind is limitless. Conscious mind has its own limitations. When you think about the functions of the brain, primarily there are 4 important functions of brain. One is perception and interpretation. We see something, we identify it, more by identification and by contrast, comparison. I call a material, for example, this pen as a pen, because I am seeing it with reference to what is my previous knowledge. I am interpreting it as pen. So this is perception and interpretation. That is the primary function. That's how I identify my father, mother, siblings and friends. In addition to whatever other things I use for my benefit, or that which will materially affect me and biologically also may cause some harm. That is the perceptual selectivity and perceptual intenseness and interpretation is one part of brain, and it is connected to intelligence also. See, the perception is a very peculiar thing. The perception precedes the learning. And it becomes a learning when interpretation takes place to fulfill our need. Our need in the sense, for example, if it is a Deepavali season, for example, When I walk in the bazaar, all the time I will be looking for cloth shops only. Because that is where the major source of my financial drain is going to take place. And that is the need of that festival. When hunger is there, I will look for good hotel. So this kind of perceptual selectivity will always take place. So selectivity, if it is not there, perception is meaningless. That is the main function. The selectivity happens because of the need I am having to fulfill some goals. Need becomes want, and want is used for fulfilling the goal. So perception plays an important role in that sense. It only generates some satisfaction for fulfilling our needs. Human beings are nothing but those who are into the behavior driven by need and drawn by goals. In between, an effort is taking place that may be called as behavior. And most of the perceptual needs are driving us based on some drives. Even it becomes a drive. For example, hunger is always there. When the intensity increases, in the morning we think of some breakfast, tiffin only. With the lunch time we think of food, rice, etc. The night may be chapati and other thing as per our custom. They are all wants. Idli is a want. Hunger is a need. Goal is to satisfy my hunger. It happens because the need becomes the drive. When in that effort, we are unable to find a hotel, or going into the hotels or food is not there, something is happening, then frustration happens. So the frustration is manifested first through aggression, then through regression, then may lead to even withdrawal. And all our behaviors comes from perception and the response that is based on the need and the goal. So that is an important function of the need, function of the brain. The second most important function is memory and recall. And we remember things, they are information related. Information holding is only knowledge. Knowledge is nothing but collection of information. What happens in our mind or the brain is information, and how it happens is thinking. So thinking as a process, if it has to be successful, this memory and recall is an absolute necessity. Information is stored and retrieved through recall, then only that information can be used for our need through our behavior. So that is the most important second function. So in thinking, there are two kinds of thinking. One is generative thinking, another is convergent thinking. Convergent thinking is towards the focus of a point. Divergent thinking or the generative thinking is finding different options so that instead of repeating the same thing, to improve the effectiveness, whether some other alternatives can be used. So this thinking process is originally comes from memory. When newly learned things are also goes into memory traces, and it is retrieved by the brain. That is the second most important function. The third most important function is analyze and judge. We do analysis of what is good, what is bad, how it will be helpful, how far it will be satisfying us, and what is the sequence, what is the consequence if I do this, what will happen, cause and consequence, based on our past knowledge and what we have already known and built up as our knowledge is helpful to us to live a life by making the life happy and to form habits also. So, this is one of the most important aspects. Analyze and judge. Analyze and decide. And this is one of the most important functions. The second and third is considered to be most important requirement for passing the examinations and getting a degree with gold medal, etc. colleges focus on this, students focus on this. The perceptual selectivity happens to you because you are born. And you have grown as a child, from child to you are growing as a young boy, young girl, and there are the adolescent, that is teenage. Teenage starts with 13 and ends with 19. But some people it gets extended also depending upon the immaturity or struggling in maturity. And then adulthood is happening. So like this, when you grow in things, your perceptual selectivity and your choice of perceptions changes. So perception changes as you grow. There are also some intensity and your focus makes it sharp hearing, sharp listening, sharp observations, all that is there. So that based on that only your quality of your interpretation will increase. So perception and interpretation, memory and recall, analyze and judge, cause and effect, these are all called the logical analytical functions of the brain. This is the third thing. Second and third is more important for students. And based on that only they call it as learning disability.